We here with another episode of
Yes,
What
sir.
We Know Better Creative Collection. How's everybody feeling today?
Wonderful, wonderful.
We have the best in the room right now. We're great right now.
Right,
We got a
right.
special episode with Miss Kateria Knows. Give it up,
And
give it up.
this episode is called the Astrology Specialist. So, that speaks for itself. We're going to get deep into astrology, and we got some questions for you, Kateria. We would like for you to introduce yourself so you can give a little breakdown on what you do and who you are.
So my name is Kateria Knows. I'm an astrologer. I've been studying for over 25 years or so now, and started studying when I was about 11 years old and just became fascinated by the science and how much it knew about me even more than myself. And over the years, I just accumulated so much knowledge of it that it just was natural for me to be an astrologer. Although I do have my degree in administration of justice, which is up there. But astrology, it has led me to living a life of freedom and studying psychology as well and everything. And now I actually life coach with science.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's very dynamic, and it
Yeah.
sounds very powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. So before we get started, I just want to say I just want to shout out to all the sponsors and everything like that. We're not gonna shout every single sponsor out. We're just gonna put everything up on the screen so y'all can, see the sponsors and everything that. Appreciate y'all. And we're gonna get into these questions. Squeaky, you can start it off.
What is it about your life's work that makes you stand out from the other life coaches?
So what makes me stand out from other life coaches is that I utilize astrology, and everything that I do in my program is based upon what you are learning in your life for your purpose. It's all purpose based, and it's not cookie cutter, basic self-improvement stuff. It's very precise to your soul pattern. When it comes to your astrological chart, your natal chart, it is your own matrix. It's your blueprint to reality. Yet, nevertheless, when it comes to understanding that, it can be very complex. Doing and living life on earth as a human being is akin to doing spiritual mathematics, spiritual calculus. And we have not been taught how to navigate life itself, let alone navigate it through signs and symbols and, geometrical shapes and equations. And so when it comes to people being in my program, I'm not teaching you to be like me. I'm not teaching you to reach success in my life. I mean, I have clients who have reached way greater levels of material success than I have, but I am guiding you based upon yourself, your journey. I help people with their relationships, with their health, and so many other things. So it's not, oh, I reached these things in my life, so learn from my methods. You may not be able to learn from my methods of what I did in my life because you may have karma in that area. You may have trauma and blockages, or it may not be the area of life that you need to focus on in this particular lifetime. We all have special areas that we need to develop in our lives. And I'm just very grateful and so happen to have the keys and to be able to understand everyone's curriculum. We all have our individual curriculum of life. And when it comes to my life coaching program, I guide you based upon your curriculum, not mine or anyone else's. And when it comes to astrology, one of my famous quotes is, astrology is the story of the heaven's influence upon the earth. When you align with the stars, you live a life of a heavenly existence. And so when I am guiding someone in regard to life coaching, I am aligning you with the higher faculty energies of your own matrix code and blueprint, so you can live a life of a heavenly existence.
Wow. That's
Sounds
different.
incredible.
Could you tell us about like the beginning? How did you get to the journey? Like, did you have a life coach, or is this something that came like from within?
Well, I started studying astrology when I was 11 because I was really fascinated by my personality. I felt like I was very unique and different and kind of weird and quirky, but I accepted my weird quirks and things of sorts. This girl came and kind of shattered my ego, if you will. She said, well, did you know that there's a science that can tell you all about your personality and all about yourself? I'm like, yeah, right. Come on. Like, I'm the weirdest person you've ever met. There's no book could tell you about me. No science can tell you about me. And I still happen to be an Aquarius, the weirdest sign of the zodiac. And it knew more about me than I did. And I just fell into these books and became obsessed, and like I just couldn't keep a book out of my hands. And I read so many astrology books, and that's literally what got me into this work. But then I started to say, many years later, I started to use astrology to navigate my life, because at one point my mom, she wouldn't let me see astrology in her house. We grew up in a Christian household. She said, this is work of the devil. This is evil. Don't bring these books in her house, so on and so forth. And then she softened a little bit and was like, okay, well, if you're going to read that, just read it for entertainment. And that was my thing. Oh, it's just entertaining. It's just entertainment. And then I'm like, I started to realize I can use this as a forecast of life, you know? But when I was about age 24, I started doing readings for people. There was one client though, back a few years ago, I forget how many years ago now, but one client, he's actually a famous music producer. He started working with me and his life was in shambles to a certain extent. And I would do his readings. He barely spoke English. And I would tell him what he needed to do and how he needed to navigate his life. And he would come back to me all the time and say, I did every single thing you told me to do. And you predicted that I was going to work with 2 female rappers, and I did the song for Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj, and I did this. You said my office, my studio was going to burn down, and it did, and that helped me to know to move and you know what to do. And every single thing you told me to do, I did it, and now I'm here. And I'm like, how is he there living this life? And he was like, I'm famous now, Kateria, and I don't know what to do. How do I navigate and this and that? And I'm like, I'm living in this broke down 2-bedroom apartment where people are real life getting shot. Like, hold on. So this was 2019. I stopped my life and I said, I'm going to do a reading for myself. And I'm going to do every single thing I tell myself to do. I did it. What was it? I ended up doing a tour called Cosmic Conversations with Kateria. And I flew to 5 different states, 5 different cities. And I ended up working with Queen Afua. Everything was based upon my chart. And I just I listened to all of the advice in my career, in my entire life took off. Queen Afua and I were in a video together at Nipsey Hussle's memorial. We got like 1 million views on that video. Everything just shifted from there. I went from being in a broke down apartment, dealing with baby daddy issues, health issues. I even healed myself from like autoimmune disease with it and so many things, but it all came from this particular client. I just did I saw that how his life took off, his personal life, his professional life, his health and wellness. And I was like, you know what, let me actually really take this seriously. And now I'm living in the beginning stages of my personal paradise, literally, from relationships, friendships, health, to material wealth, career success, name, and all of that. I base my entire program off of that. I base it all off of your chart, but then of course, psychology, I give you a psychological analysis. I'm a trauma release therapist coach as well. And so I help people in that regard. I'm naturally a naturopathic herbalist and things of sorts. So I guide people in that area, and I utilize the modalities that help me get out of depression. And I've attempted suicide twice. I use all of those modalities to help my clientele to navigate their best lives.
Well, let me say congratulations on that. I always wanted to congratulate you. I've been here and there, dibble dabble, checking you out. You know, you guided me for the past about 4 or 5 years now. I don't think you know it, but I just want to say you are amazing.
Well, thank you.
And there's a reason why you're still here, and I'm happy that you're here with us today, and really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I had one more question. It's for the people, but it's really for me, to be honest. So how did you because we all have choices. So, you know what I'm saying? You can either go left or you could even go right. So when you hear about people doing like readings and stuff like that, it's kind of like taboo a little bit, or you just hear like the negative aspect of it. So what stopped you from actually, I guess, pretty much going on the dark end of it versus like choosing to go on the light end of it?
That's such an interesting question. I've never been asked that
Because
before.
like as soon as I see tarot cards, I'm out of there. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not messing with it.
Yeah, I don't do tarot. I don't know how to. I feel like, so I'm a person, I have, not the best character and not the best personality, but I do in fact have a pure heart. My heart is really pure. Most of our hearts are pure, actually. I really want the best for everybody. I want to live in a perfect world. Understanding that living in a perfect world is not having everybody do what I want them to do, but having everyone do what they were meant to do or what God has sent them to learn and to do. Everything that I do is under that notion and that idea. Never lead anyone to myself, but always lead people to themselves, because if people are their best self, they are going to be conduits of the Most High. And that's what's going to allow myself, my children, my descendants to experience a beautiful utopian planet Earth. So it's almost like something I never had to think about. It's just naturally, my heart is pure. I understand karma so much. I understand, I'm so empathetic. I can feel other people's pain. So if I lead people to darkness, or if I work through darkness, I'm only going to bring that darkness on myself. And I don't want to live or experience dark or heavy, painful experiences. They hurt, they're uncomfortable. So, it's really easy. I understand also that we are all one being. We're all inner reflections of one another. So if I do something wrong to you, I'm just bringing it back to myself, because we're all cells of one body. So why am I going to bring poison and toxins back to myself when I don't want to experience pain?
Yeah.
A shame.
Yeah, we all reflections, and that's why I'm glad to see that it's the awareness is coming up when it comes to that, because us looking like we separate from each other, it makes people behave in ways that they wouldn't even treat themselves, and it's just like, why would you do that? But we definitely reflect reflections of ourselves, and that's why I try my best to keep honesty is the best policy. I try to treat people how I want to be treated, and etc. Just basic values
Yes.
that we were learning as kids. I just try to keep those things up, because at the end of the day, that energy is going to come somewhere in my life. It's going to, it's not because of not wanting to be a victim either. It's a genuine thing as well. But when it's like you on another level of understanding, on a multidimensional level and stuff like that. It's like, yo, why would I even entertain doing something for the wrong reason when I understand the purpose behind what I'm doing? So it's just good to hear that you're using the,
Yeah.
astrology the way you're using it, because astrology has stigma around it. I think it's a good and bad to everything. Is people can take astrology, and I noticed that you don't you help people, but you also help people that want to be helped. You're not gonna force people and take them down the wrong path, because you only could do the work if you're ready to do the work. So, and you're aware of that, so you're using it the right way. But it's probably people out there that's like, yo, I know this astrology, I'm gonna do this reading for this person. They're gonna perceive it the wrong way, and then after that, I'm just gonna get paid, and whatever happens to them happens to them. You know what I'm saying? If they call me back, they call me back. I'm out of here. They already know how doing a reading for somebody can affect somebody. Like you said, we are iffy about tarot cards because we have actual bad experiences from people that don't probably really know what they was doing like that, or maybe they had bad intentions or whatever. But we've had bad experiences with that stuff. So
Wow. And that's why I like astrology, because I'm just a little ignorant to the tarot card. So I'm not going to demonize tarot, but astrology, anything that I share with you, you can go and research it, because it's all calculations, it's all mathematics. So like, I tell people very difficult things, and they're like, but where did you get that from? And I can say, because this is this, and that is that, and this is that, and that is this. And you can go and do your own research. You can't be mad at me. I'm just the translator of a language you don't understand. And I also have specialized calculations that you can't find on Google, because I've been studying the science as long as I have. When you're really, you've been playing basketball for 20 something years, how to, handle the ball, and how to do, your tricks or whatever. But still, at the end of the day, you can find the actual mathematic equation and the truth in everything that I'm sharing with you, even though it may be uncomfortable. This is why I also don't like to, and I have to just be honest with that, I don't really like to do readings for people who haven't taken my coaching program. I will, and I do all the time, but I prefer to do readings for coaching clients because I want you to get the higher experience of these difficult transits. Because when it comes to astrology, astrology does not compel, it impels. So it's going to show up for you based upon who you are. But understand that everything in your life is trying to get you to live in your purpose and to live on purpose. So when you are not living in purpose, you're not on purpose, you're going to experience paradoxical experiences and difficult things that are trying to push you onto your purpose. So when I'm doing a reading for you and there's a difficult transit, I am going to predict a paradoxical experience that is trying to get you to live in your purpose. But if you are one of my coaching clients, you're already equipped and stationed and firm in living in your purpose. So now I predict the utopian era, regardless of any transits that are present.
I think I understand why you want to do the coaching program, because you want to prep them up for the extreme nature behind what's going on. At the end of the day, getting to your higher self is not something that's like, oh, snap your fingers. It's going to be an easy ride. Let's go. It's a very difficult process that we're all going through daily, whatever level. Some people's on different levels and stuff like that. But I think, yeah, the breakdown is definitely incredible. It's definitely good for them to get some knowledge before they just jump in thinking it's going to be a magic trick or something like that. Even though it is a form of magic, it still takes some work. And I don't think people realize the pivotal status of negativity. All that negativity that you're dealing with, it's all pivotal. It's all pivotal. It's just like when somebody grab you in a wrestling match or something like that, somebody grabs you, it's the best time for you to reverse it and put them on the floor. It's the same thing with negativity in the real world. But we just let it consume us and we get comfortable and get tricked into, oh, let's just stay this way, let's just do that, let's just whatever, and not really go after our higher self. So it's great to see somebody so articulate about the breakdown, because that's going to open more people up to it.
Yeah.
That was a very powerful analogy that you used when it came to the wrestling. What I always say is we have to truly understand how our life experiences are reflecting to us who we are. Life is not happening to us, it's responding to us. And if we learn how to maneuver in a particular way and develop ourselves to living in our higher path, we will get a different response out of life. But sometimes people get stuck in their, say, demonstration and expression of life because of trauma, because of karma and other things, or alexithymia and running from their emotional experiences. And so I teach people to face themselves so that they can now navigate the waves of life, be the best seller there is.
That's beautiful.
I like that, because it's just, like I said, it's giving people their power. I ain't gonna say too much because I do want to get to the next question, but you're giving people their power and stopping this whole, let's wait for something to happen, let's just stay in the same rut. You're giving people a blueprint on ways to actually get deep into themselves and realize their true power. And a lot of people, we don't really have a full awareness of that. We don't have the full awareness of like how powerful we actually are, because we taught that we small, you just a little person. One person could change the world. You know what I mean? But that's how you look at it. We're gonna get to the next question.
Why is astrology important to our existence?
Okay, so astrology is important for several reasons. First reason is our ancestors utilize astrology. Astrology is actually known as the highest science. It is your forecast to your life. You would want to know what the weather is going to be like if you're going to go to Florida, if there's going to be a hurricane or not. That's not going to necessarily stop you from going to Florida, but it's going to allow you to take the right tools and to maneuver in a particular way while you are there, and that's what astrology allows us to do. Our ancestors developed astrology by looking at the different patterns that were taking place in the sky and how these patterns would indicate something that was taking place on Earth. Also, our farmers, we have food because of astrology. Like they know when the moon is doing what, different phases, what vegetables, what fruits, what crops to plant. And that was founded because of astrology, So astrology, it tells you what time it is and what to focus on. We have our seasons and we know, like, I'm not going to throw a pool party in the middle of winter. No one's going to come. You know what I'm saying? I'm also not going to plan a snowman building contest in July. Just knowing those things on a basic notion of understanding the seasons Well, astrology allows you to get even more precise and deeper when it comes down to that. Knowing astrology or even getting a reading and things of sorts, it allows you to navigate your blueprint. And this is how I like to think about astrology. Imagine you bought a piece of furniture from IKEA, but it didn't come with the instructions, and it didn't even come with a picture of what this thing is supposed to look like. But you got to put it together and you got to figure it out. And you're like, dang, I don't know if this is a table, if this is a chair. I don't know if this is supposed to be a couch, but I'm gonna just put it together and see what comes. That's how life is on planet Earth without getting an astrology reading or knowing your natal chart. Imagine purchasing a piece of furniture from IKEA. You know exactly the size it's supposed to be, the dimensions. You know that this is supposed to be a desk with 4 drawers and it opens like this, and it should be in an office rather than a bedroom, and you know this is the color of it, and so on and so forth. That's what astrology allows you to do. It allows you to know, okay, put A where the letter A is, like when you're putting together a piece of furniture, and it just makes things much more easier and efficient, sturdy and clear. Imagine when you put together a piece of furniture without the instructions, you may put it together, but something's going to be off or it's not going to be sturdy. But when you put it together with the instructions, you're like, boom, it's solid. It's sound. This is why JP Morgan even stated millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do, because it allows you to be that sound and that solid with the navigation of your life.
That's very powerful. Would you say that a specific type of individual shouldn't tap into astrology? Like maybe if you have a certain character flaw?
Since I've been studying astrology as long as I have and working with as many people as I have, one person that shouldn't be alerted to or aware of. Even if you're a demon, you're a sociopath, you're a murderer, whatever, you should know your astrology chart, because astrology allows you to know yourself so that you can correct certain things, you can heal, so you could grow, so you could evolve, or so that you can navigate yourself and your life and your experiences.
Yeah, especially with other people.
Well, I just have one more question. Is there anything common that you do see during your readings on average?
Well, something common in a chart is people having the sun conjunct their Mercury. And this is why when people are telling a story, or when someone is listening to a story, they end up finding something that relates to them in themselves. And I know people get challenged by that. People feel that people are narcissistic in things. People are often, with having the sun, and let me explain it a little bit, having the sun making a conjunction to your Mercury. Mercury rules communication and your thinking, your thought patterns, and your habits. The sun is your vitality. It's your life force essence. It's you. Having the sun in Mercury conjunct, that means that they are in the same exact sign. So they function the same way. And really, they say it's 40%. I believe it's like 60 to 70% of people who have this particular aspect in their chart. This means that people usually are thinking about themselves. And if you're telling someone a story, they think about how it applies to them. They have to relate it to themselves in order to understand it, because most people have the sun making a conjunction to Mercury, Mercury being thoughts and communication, the sun being the vitality of the life force of the self. I don't get offended when I'm telling a story like, yeah, you know, I just got out of this relationship. I did too. Yeah, my relationship and da da da. Oh my gosh, I was learning that thing. It's like, yeah, I know. You probably got the sun conjunct.
Yeah, that's how you know that we're all one. Like we're never gonna know the full extent of information, of data in this lifetime. And it's okay. Like I think people need to accept that part. We're not gonna know everything, but it's good to know something.
Some things. Yeah, I like her to say that. That's my name. I literally tell people my name is Kateria Knows. I don't know everything, but I know some things.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So I'm gonna save the last question for design, because we watched that video of you describing how to defeat jealousy, and that really hit for him and us. So yeah, I'm gonna let him get to that one.
How can jealousy be shifted into a positive stepping stone for someone?
I'm about to cry. I love this question.
Yeah, we need this.
I love this question. So, and I know the video I did about jealousy was a long time ago. Or was this a recent video, or was it on my YouTube channel?
It
It
was
was
on
on a YouTube
YouTube
channel.
channel.
Yeah, a long time.
Okay, so that was several years ago. And what I have recently come to is that jealousy is an indicator and a sign of self-betrayal. It shows you and it reminds you of the promises that you made to yourself that you did not keep. You really only experience jealousy when it's something that you wanted for yourself that you have failed to give yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, there are other things. People grow up feeling jealous of someone because this person has an attribute that the other person told repeatedly is a better or more favorable, more desirable attribute than what they were born with or what they have. So there are definitely several unfoldments to jealousy, yet and nevertheless, as I have grown and matured, I have noticed when people deal with jealousy, it's a reflection and an indicator of self-betrayal. They, like, say for instance, a man being jealous of another man's success and money. But there were many times that he was told to handle his finance in a certain way, to go to school or to get this type of a training or to invest his money rather than spend it, so on and so forth. And now he's seeing this man thriving financially, and it just reminds him of his own self-betrayal and the prize that he did not keep to himself. You see a woman being jealous of another woman's spectacular physique. It's a reminder of how she failed to keep the promises of eating healthy and exercising and things of sorts. And now she's seeing this woman walking around with a big dump truck and she mad. Jealousy, when you feel the feelings of jealousy arise in you, you got to reflect on where it comes from. If it's been from lies that have been told to you about who you should be or how you should be, or that this particular